glory.
Preach, Pastor.
Say within themselves. Now, Jesus told us and sent us out here. Jesus allowed this to happen. Sent us out here to die. Sent us out here to perish. He's not even on board with us. How can he let something like this happen? And you know, that's what happened when church folks, somebody say church folks, encounter impossibilities.
Work, Reverend.
When church folks find themselves at wit's end, that's what happened. When church folks find themselves in an unfamiliar territory, we start murmuring.
Preach it.
We start grumbling.
Preach it.
We start whispering to one another.
Preach it.
Jesus should have did something. We don't have no business being here like this. But look at a neighbor and say, neighbor.
Neighbor.
Come on, just look at him for a little bit. Just say, neighbor. If the Lord allowed it to happen, he'll give you what you need to make it through. I said, if the Lord allowed it to be so, he'll give you what you need to make it to the next level. If the Lord allowed the rain to fall, he got an umbrella somewhere.
Talk, Doc.
And I just bring it home.
Talk,
if the Lord allowed obstacles to come in your way, he got a way of bringing you home. Somebody shout over.
Preach it, Pastor. Preach it.
Have it in your spirit that this too will pass. Whatever you're going through, you got to make up in your mind that this too
will pass.
Will pass. Yeah, these disciples are in the midst. They're in the thick of the storm.
Guide them, Lord.
It's heavy. The rain is falling. The wind is blowing. The waves are beating up against the ship. And these men don't have Jesus on board.
Guide them,
Can you imagine what they're going through? Can you imagine the mental place that they find themselves in? They're just about to give up. They're just about to throw in the towel. It don't look like they're going to make it. It don't look like they're going to make it through. They're wondering why they left Jesus. Somebody said, let's turn back. Somebody said, let's drop anchor and stay right here. And somebody said, we sure can't make it out there. But how many know when you study the storm? When you study the storm,
guide him, Lord. Guide him.
The safest place in the storm is right in the middle of it. I said the safest place in the storm is right in the middle of it. And when you study stormology, I'll make that word up. When you study stormology, they'll tell you that when the storm is raging, not to try to get back to the dock.
That's it.
When the storm is raging, don't try to press through it. Just get right there in the middle of it and let the storm pass over. Oh, brothers and sisters, when God calls things to happen in your life, you got to let it pass over. You can't get cold feet and run away. You got to let it pass over. What happens when you stand strong on what God has allowed to happen? I'll tell you what happens. Jesus shows up. But the Bible says in the fourth watch of the night that Jesus entered this predicament between the hours of 3 and 6 a.m.
Tell the story, Reverend. Tell it.
Between the hours of 3 and 6 a.m. Jesus shows up. And when he shows up with a word for their worry. He shows up with a solve for their situation. And you know, Jesus never shows up empty-handed. He always shows up with a solution. He always shows up with a word. He always shows up in order to make it better. And can I just see the hand of those that know that when Jesus showed up, things got better?
It got better?
Yeah, when Jesus showed up,
it got better.
The way became straight. When Jesus showed up, what was down come up, and what was up came down. When Jesus showed up, he made the difference. Yes, the Bible says that when he showed up, they did not recognize him.
Guide him, Lord.
Didn't recognize him, for they said it must be a ghost.
Guide him, Lord.
They said it must be a ghost that we see coming here. Keep in mind, these are trained fishermen. They had been on the sea many times before. Never had they seen a man walk like Jesus started walking. But the Bible says when he showed up, that he showed up in the thick of the storm.
That's it.
And he showed up with the storm underneath his feet. He showed up walking on top of the storm. And I want to tell somebody that when Jesus showed up, he knows how to position you in the midst of your storm. When he showed up with things under his feet. In other words, words, he had the storm under his control. This was the same storm that had them bound. This was the same storm that had them worried all night. But when Jesus showed up, he showed up with a solution. And I come to tell somebody, when you find yourself out with sin and don't